Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. It is fantastic to have you here. As ever, we're working on trying to make a fine chef's knife, which is an incredible educational experience. And if you guys want to learn, it is just the perfect opportunity for me to thank today's sponsor, which is Skillshare, which is the online learning community where you can learn everything from marketing, videography, photography, business, all the way down to watercolor. You can learn all sorts of skills with Skillshare, and they are offering the first 700 people who hit the link in the description 2 months of Skillshare for free. So make sure that you hit that link. Thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring the video. Let's get right in to our own education in that of making an exquisite chef's knife. Oh, yes. That's right. Those are some lofty goals. I like a good lofty goal. You can't go wrong. Setting the bar higher than you think you're capable of meeting. I'm gonna lay down this here so we don't scratch it up further, while it is that we remove the scratches that we noticed right at the end of the last episode. Here, and here. You'll notice that when we sanded in the last episode, I had this piece of flat stock with some leather superglued to it, and we used this as our primary sanding stick. And I have to say, it worked rather fantastically. It helped me get into that nice deep radius of our S-grind nicely, and it actually allowed me to polish a good deal of all the other surfaces perfectly fine, as the leather has some give. I'm gonna start off with jumping back down to 400 grit. Hopefully that'll be suitable for getting through these scratches. Little drop of WD-40, and here we go. That wasn't so bad, didn't take long at all. How about some 600 grit? So now what I want to do is I want to do full continuous strokes, as it is that we have done the bulk of our stock removal. This way we don't get any J-hooks. Now what is a J-hook other than a practical place to hang a coat? No, a J-hook, when you are sanding back and forth at the end of a sanding stroke as you change sides, there is often this little curve, and it'll leave these little hooks in your workpiece which don't look good. So what you got to do is you've got to come in here and you've got to tilt your sanding stick forwards ever so slightly, especially as you come into the bolster, so that you can just gently glide through, lift up, and get it done. I can take the sandpaper off to describe this, but if you don't lean this forwards, as you come up to that bolster here, what happens is that the back edge of your sanding stick will dig in, and it'll make this weird little spot there as soon as it slows down, and you'll get a kind of a J-hook on the back edge of the sanding stick as it transitions into it. So what I like to do is I like to tilt this up onto the front side, onto the leading edge as we get close to it, and make sure that the transition of the bolster is touched only with one edge of the sanding stick. Make sure you check out Nick Wheeler's tutorial in case you want to learn a lot more about hand sanding and making sure that you get the nicest finish with it, because that's where I've picked up a huge amount of helpful information on this subject. Okay, onto the other side. Undo this, flip that over, give that a tighten, give that a squirt, and we're back in business. This is the exciting thing. It doesn't take long to fix mistakes and fix these tiny little details. And so it's so easy. The temptation of allowing these details to stay in there is so huge, yet fixing them takes just a matter of seconds. Oh, I wish I remembered that all the time, that I'm tempted to skip steps. On to 600 grit now. Here is our next step, the bolster. So we have flattened out this bolster area here, and I took a small little diamond burr type thing and I ran in to that very transition between the flat of the bolster and the tang, And I just put a groove in there so it has a nice radius transition to hopefully mean that we don't get as much of a stress concentration. So I'm now going to pull the knife out of the file guide. There we go. So with our bolster flattened, the next step is that of a strengthening step. It is taking this short tang where we wouldn't have any like hard mechanical connection to our wood, and it's helping create that. So a design for of this knife has been what I have done to the tang. So when I made this tang, I put a slight downwards curve in it, and I should not have done that. This tang should come straight out of the knife. So that can be an issue, but it's fine. We can grind it into straight. Okay, so here is the handle that we're gonna go for. Of course, it's based off of Mareko's handles because, like I've said before, I am absolutely trying to unabashedly copy him. When you're a beginner, there is no point reinventing the wheel, which is something I need to learn. So, obviously that is the handle. Beautiful shape to it, you know, lots of curves. It's gonna encourage you to get up here, up closer in a pinch grip in the knife with this bulge there. It's just gonna be a fabulous handle. Now what we are going to do is we are going to find a way to be able to fix that handle in. So, we're going to cut a slot in the tang, and in there we are going to weld in a threaded stud, and then we are going to make ourselves a counterbore in the butt of the handle material so that we can make a little nut that inserts in and tightens down, pulling this handle tight to the bolster, making sure that we have a strong mechanical fastening in addition to our epoxy glue up. Now, of course, you'll remember on, say, this Bowie knife here, we do not have the tang going the whole way through. It's only going down to about here, but we do have a pin in there for extra security. I'm sure this isn't something that's absolutely needed in a chef's knife. This is not, obviously, you know, you're not hacking away through the jungle with something like this, but if Mareko does it, I'm gonna do it. But regardless, I'm gonna hazard a guess and say that the stronger, the better. And so that is what we've got to do now. I really don't like how that tang is bent. So I think the first thing that we do is we fix that tang. It's hot to the anvil. That'll work. With that out of the way, I'm now going to take some 4mm steel, and we're going to put it here in the lathe. We're going to give it a little file. And now we'll take a little 4mm die, and we're going to thread probably about an inch or so. I'm going to pull the tailstock up to it, so I apply square pressure. Okay, now it's on squarely. Get this out of the way, and we can start really running this up there. Every so often I'm going to back it off to break the chip. There we go. That'll do. Oh. So now what we got to do is see how much of a mess of it we can make TIG welding it. I think we'll do fine. So with a little threaded end piece welded on, it is now time for some handle material. How about that? This is just a phenomenally beautiful piece of stabilized, spalted maple burl. I think that'll do just fabulously. a long time. So since you have seen me last, I don't know what I've done, but let me run you through it all. We drilled a hole, we scraped out a mortise for the rectangular portion of the tang. Then we drilled all the way through from the backside with a 4mm drill bit and then a 6mm drill bit. We then made up one bronze nut to tighten this all together. And what you didn't see is I actually made it a mistake. Here we go. I made a total mistake. So here is the first piece. What happened, you ask? Well, I made it too large, so then I ended up making it too small, so there was too much gap. So we made another piece, and it's in there. We made ourselves up a piece of G10 for a spacer material. It is all tightened together in its dry fit up. And so now it's glue up time. So we're gonna take it all apart, degrease it, and I am gonna be using a 24-hour 2-part epoxy. You know, it's one of those things. The longer something takes, the better it usually ends up. This is one of those cases in gluing together a knife like this. We want this to be a knife that can last and be used for generations. We've put all this effort into this point. You know, why would we skimp and use 15-minute epoxy? Well, I can tell you why, because I've skimped in the past and used 15-minute epoxy. You know, hell, this knife here, the one that we're trying to improve upon, had 15-minute epoxy. The reason why? Well, it's laziness. It's not having a great enough commitment to the final end result. Deciding that actually I'm happy to make a lackluster product and save 24 hours. Is that a smart choice? You know, for some, and in some occasions, it is a smart choice. But you'll have to forever live with the fact that you made a piece below par for the time that you save. On this, I am not happy to accept that cost. So the 24-hour epoxy it is, the patience it is that we will need, and I think we'll be very glad for it when all is said and done. Wipe it off and see if we can find our scribe line. I'm sure that is about as tight as physically possible. We're now going to clean off the acetone up here. The acetone, the epoxy. Okie dokie. That feels about as solid as possible. That'll do nicely. So that is going to be gluing up over the next 24 hours, and I want to thank our sponsor again, which is Skillshare. It's the online learning community where you can go to get courses and learn about everything from videography, photography, business, marketing, to painting yourself a nice watercolor. You can learn lots, and the course that I want to recommend today is a course about iPhone photography, because everybody's got a phone in their back pockets, and these things are so incredibly powerful, so much more powerful than we ever think, provided you use them right. It's just like one of those things. It's the same in craft. A master can make the most phenomenal knife possible with no power tools and blow anything I've ever made out of the water because he has the knowledge. It's about the knowledge first, the equipment second, and being able to know how to take the best photos possible on your iPhone is going to be essential to growing your business, as social media is such an important tool. You want to maximize it to the greatest degree. This course is by Dale McManus, and I highly recommend that you sign up to Skillshare, because the first 700 of you who sign up are going to get 2 months of Skillshare for free at the link below, which is just brilliant because you're going to be able to enjoy this course, learn how to take some great photos on your phone, then learn how to edit videos, and then learn whatever else you want to. They've got over 19,000 courses. Thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring the video. Thank you guys for coming along and enjoying this. And since that's gluing up, tomorrow's video might be different, but we'll see. Hit subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you then.